So there are some skeletons in Brittney's closet that appear to be coming back to haunt her. And namely, it is this question, this query that, again, allegedly, but apparently Brittney Griner is, in fact, a man.
What if I told you that the same league promoting a No Space for Hate campaign just allowed one of their players to call Caitlin Clark a trash white girl with zero consequences? But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just about double standards anymore. New evidence has emerged that suggests there might be a much bigger reason why Brittney Griner seems untouchable in the WNBA. The physical evidence, the AI detection failure, the anecdotes from people closest to her, and the complete lack of league accountability all point to something the WNBA desperately wants to keep buried. And now that it's all bubbling up, Brittney Griner is furious she's getting exposed. If you demand transparency, then comment "Protect Caitlin Clark" down below. Let's go.
She's the Rookie of the Year. She's 4th in the league in MVP voting.
Caitlin Clark is an absolute all-star. She is the Michael Jordan of this. This is the girl that girls have been waiting for forever.
Caitlin Clark is a rising star in women's basketball. She's pulling in crazy viewership numbers.
Caitlin Clark is the needle mover.
She is the needle mover.
She is the franchise player.
And she was the MVP. She is the main draw.
She wasn't the one who was full sprinting down the court.
She's my role model. I really look up to her.
Why do you like Caitlin?
And she's so good at basketball.
Because she's that awesome person and she has like a lot of aura, so like.
You know what makes women's basketball so compelling? It's the level playing field that allows pure skill and strategy to shine through. When you watch these athletes compete, you're seeing talent measured against talent, not biology against biology. That's the whole point of women's sports categories in the first place.
Making biology official reality, keeping men out of women's sports, and that one is particularly important.
Let's be real about the science behind this. Men have significant physical advantages that go way beyond what most people realize. We're talking about 12% greater lung capacity, 40% more upper body strength, and bone density that's substantially higher across the board. The average man is 5 feet 9 inches, while the average woman is 5 feet 4 inches. But that height difference becomes massive when you factor in reach, vertical leap, and overall athletic power. Men's testosterone levels run 15 to 20 times higher than women's, directly fueling muscle development and red blood cell production that translates to superior athletic performance. Imagine this is exponentially magnified when we talk about elite male and female athletes.
But you know who does care? The women who train their entire life at a very high level to be able to get a seat at the table and to have that taken away by a man. And to even entertain these leftist rebuttals that it is in any way, shape, or form fair for men to compete in women's sports.
These aren't small differences we can just ignore. They're the exact reason we created separate categories for women's sports. You wouldn't pit a men's high school team against NBA players and call it fair competition. The same logic applies to biological sex in athletics.
It is not fair to have men competing against women. And for that reason, honestly, I would love to see some type of an official investigation on Brittney Griner.
But something's been happening across various sports recently. We've seen swimmers, runners, boxers, and basketball players whose biological advantages have sparked major controversies. Fans are asking hard questions about transparency. Athletes are demanding protection of fair competition. The foundational principle that built women's athletics is being tested, and now we're seeing this exact situation play out in the WNBA, with questions surrounding one particular player. Sometimes the most revealing evidence comes from the most unexpected places, like an Instagram story, or a passing comment from someone close to you that was supposed to disappear. Brittney Griner posted a topless photo on her Instagram story. Nothing too unusual there, right? Athletes post workout photos and casual content all the time. But here's what caught everyone's attention. Instagram's AI detection system, specifically designed to identify and automatically flag female nudity, completely ignored the post.
Flag you. Brittney, let me see something real quick. Brick! Thank you! Get the fuck! Get the hell out of here, yo! Yo! Jab stepping, just a brick. Swing and a miss!
Oh!
Yo, I ain't gonna fake it right now.
That this person is not a female. Firstly, because this was actually posted to Brittney's personal Instagram.
This isn't some minor technical glitch we're talking about. Instagram's AI system analyzes millions of images every day, trained to recognize biological differences between male and female torsos. When the system encounters female nudity, it flags the content immediately. The fact that Griner's topless photos sailed right through without any detection raises serious questions about how the AI classified what it was seeing. The algorithm essentially treated the image as if it were viewing a male torso. But the Instagram incident represents just one piece of a much larger puzzle. You've probably noticed Griner's notably deep voice during interviews and press conferences. Her vocal tone sits well outside the typical range for biological women. Then there's her unusual height and frame. Not just tall, but built with proportions that seem fundamentally different from other female athletes, even those at the elite level.
That this person is not a female. Firstly, because this was actually posted to Brittney's personal Instagram. And when it comes to Instagram, they use a combination of like AI detection and plus manual surveyors, but specifically the AI detection to make sure that no explicit content ends up on the platform. So clearly whatever AI detection system was used when Brittney posted this and it stayed up for 106 weeks was not like, oh, this is a bare female chest, we have to take this down. It obviously assumed that Brittney was male.
Here's something else that's been quietly discussed in certain circles: the complete absence of visible surgical scars on Griner's chest area. If someone had undergone top surgery to remove breast tissue, which is standard in certain transition procedures, there would typically be visible scarring. Medical professionals and observant fans have noted this absence, adding another layer to the growing speculation. People who have interacted with Griner in various settings have shared anecdotal observations that support these physical concerns. Flight attendants, hotel staff, and other service industry workers have made comments about interactions that seemed unusual or unexpected. These individual accounts might not mean much alone, but they're starting to create a pattern.
WNBA who are very fond of virtue signaling, but even when it comes to Brittney's exchange for like the Merchant of Death, which is insane, by the way, but had that been just like a straight white girl, my guess is that straight white girl would probably still be rotting in a Russian prison.
Social media users and sports analysts have connected these physical traits directly to Griner's on-court performance. They're asking whether the same biological advantages that create such obvious physical differences also translate to athletic capabilities that other women simply cannot match. The strength, reach, and overall physical presence that dominates games becomes a completely different conversation when viewed through this lens. What started as isolated observations about an Instagram post has snowballed into widespread speculation about biological sex and competitive fairness. Fans are demanding transparency. Other players are asking private questions. Sports commentators are dancing around topics they're not supposed to discuss publicly.
Brittney was male and therefore being topless on the platform was totally fine. It did not constitute as nudity. Now, some people may speculate, okay, well, is Brittney trans?
This combination of digital evidence, physical observations, and anecdotal accounts has created something the WNBA clearly doesn't want to address. The questions about fair competition aren't going away, and now they're directly connected to performance that seems to exist in a completely different category than women's basketball has ever seen before. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, and shocking new evidence is coming out that proves what most people already suspect. When you watch Brittney Griner play, you're not just seeing skill, you're witnessing a level of physical dominance that seems to belong in a different league entirely. Her shot-blocking records aren't just impressive statistics. They represent a type of paint control that fundamentally changes how opposing teams have to approach the game. Other players adjust their entire offensive strategy around avoiding Griner's reach. That's not normal in women's basketball.
But still then, they would have way more testosterone in their system than the average WNBA player. We're going to get back to that point in a minute.
Let's look at the numbers that really matter. Griner stands 6 feet 9 inches with a wingspan that dwarfs other elite WNBA players. When you compare her physical measurements to someone like A'ja Wilson, who's considered one of the league's most dominant players at 6 feet 4 inches, the gap becomes obvious. But it's not just height we're talking about. Griner's shoulder width, hand size, and overall frame create advantages that other women simply cannot match through training or skill development. Here's where things get really interesting. During Griner's detention in Russia, reports initially kept her imprisonment location completely under wraps. The lack of transparency was unusual for such a high-profile case. Eventually, her lawyers reported she was held at IK2 in Mordovia, described as a female penal colony. But that raises serious questions about the initial secrecy surrounding her placement.
There was some speculation that Brittney Griner was actually put in a male prison. Very difficult to find any reports that actually confirmed that, but that was widespread speculation at the time.
Why would Russian authorities need time to determine which type of facility would house Griner? Prison systems have clear protocols for inmate placement based on biological sex. The fact that her location remained undisclosed while this decision was apparently being made suggests Russian officials had access to documentation or information that the public has never seen. What did they know that influenced their facility choice? You have to wonder what official records Russian authorities reviewed during those crucial early days of her detention. These decisions aren't made casually in foreign prison systems. There are protocols, medical examinations, and documentation requirements that determine placement. The delayed reporting and initial secrecy around her location points to complications that wouldn't exist for a typical case. Some reports, in fact, suggested she was detained in a male facility. And let's not forget the story about Brittney's mom.
Brittney is a weird case. He's a man, yes, that much is obvious, but not in the way that you think. He isn't trans. He's a straight cis male who was raised as a girl and given a girl's name by his parents. His mother is the insane one. She forced him to live as a female right up through high school, filled out all of his paperwork, including BC as female, and kept the charade going.
Watch Griner dominate games and you'll see moments other women cannot replicate. Her ability to block shots from angles that seem impossible. The way she physically intimidates opponents just by standing near the basket. The reach that allows her to grab rebounds other players can't even touch. These aren't skills you can teach. They're physical capabilities that stem from biological advantages. When Griner swats a shot into the stands or dunks over multiple defenders, you're watching athletic feats that exist outside the normal parameters of women's basketball. Other elite players work their entire careers to develop skills that compensate for their physical limitations. Griner's physical gifts eliminate those limitations entirely.
Brittney Griner comes out and says, I am so sick and tired of the WNBA. It used to be a peaceful, small little thing. Now there's crowds screaming, hollering. This is disruptive. It's not allowing us to play the game. Every time we play her, there's this commotion, like this loud rumbling from the stands. Turns out it's people, thousands of them, just sitting there watching on purpose. It's very disruptive.
The combination of statistical dominance, unexplained prison placement decisions, and on-court capabilities that seem to transcend women's basketball creates a troubling picture. These factors suggest competitive advantages that undermine the very foundation of fair play in women's sports. The league's response to growing questions about these advantages reveals how far they'll go to protect certain narratives, even when the evidence keeps mounting against them.
We have heard nothing from the WNBA, absolutely nothing.
Brittney Griner elbowing Caitlin Clark in a crazy way and then calling her a trash white girl.
And Brittney Griner has not commented, which I find significant. I've watched that video countless times, and it sure looks like Brittney Griner says, white girl.
The WNBA should investigate Brittney Griner's seemingly uttering profanities about white girl.
The moment Brittney Griner called Caitlin Clark a trash white girl with zero consequences, the WNBA accidentally revealed exactly how their justice system really works. After fouling out of a game, Griner was caught on live television mouthing the words "trash effing white girl" directly at Clark. The cameras captured it. Fans saw it. Social media exploded with the footage, and the WNBA did absolutely nothing.
Brittney Griner appeared to call Caitlin Clark trash and effing white girl.
This verbal attack was caught on live television and spread across the internet within hours. You had clear video evidence of what appeared to be a racial slur directed at the league's biggest star. Yet despite having concrete proof of the incident, the WNBA's response was complete silence. No disciplinary action. No fine. No strongly worded statement. Not even an acknowledgement that anything inappropriate had happened.
Brittney Griner, who I can't stand, sad that she's a Baylor grad.
Yeah,
she called her a trash, expletive white girl. That was the lip reading. Yes, trash, white girl. Trash, blinking white girl is what she says.
Here's where the hypocrisy gets really obvious. The WNBA runs this whole "No Space for Hate" campaign that supposedly combats racism and discrimination. They plaster it all over their marketing materials and social media. The campaign explicitly states their commitment to fighting hate speech and creating an inclusive environment. But when their protected player launches what appears to be a racial attack on their biggest draw, suddenly those principles disappear.
The WNBA has come out numerous times. There's no place for hate. There's no place for racism.
Let's be real about what would happen if the roles were reversed. Imagine Caitlin Clark calling any black player a racial slur on live television. The league would have suspended her before the game even ended. Sports media would demand her head. Sponsors would flee. The outrage would be deafening and immediate. Clark would face career-ending consequences for behavior that Griner apparently gets to engage in without any repercussions whatsoever.
Is the WNBA okay with one of its players saying white girl on the bench and getting caught by TV cameras saying such? I guess they are. I guess they're okay with it. Obviously, the league would very much not be okay with a white player saying black girl on the bench in anger and getting caught by TV cameras. That would be an immediate suspension, if not a career ender for said white girl.
This isn't an isolated incident either. Clark has faced ongoing hostility from other players since arriving in the WNBA. She's been pushed, shoved, and verbally attacked during warm-ups and games. Other players have targeted her with unnecessary rough play that goes beyond normal basketball contact. The league consistently fails to protect their most marketable star from this pattern of abuse.
But it is completely possible that white girl was about Caitlin Clark's popularity, about her stature, about her impact on the entire league.
The preferential treatment Griner receives extends far beyond disciplinary decisions. Media coverage consistently protects her from criticism. League promotion features her prominently, despite controversial moments. Even when evidence mounts about various concerns surrounding her background and competitive advantages, the WNBA shields her from scrutiny that any other player would face.
She has been abused repeatedly. We have shown you videos, just getting elbowed, getting crushed, inbound passes where they ram into her, just absolutely abused, and there clearly is a racial element to it.
You have to ask what the WNBA is really protecting here. Why are they so invested in maintaining this particular narrative? What happens to their carefully constructed image if people start asking too many questions about biological advantages and fair competition? The league's selective outrage reveals they have different rules for different players.
The league would not be okay with a white player saying effing black girl.
This double standard has corroded the WNBA from within. Fan trust disappears when people see obvious bias in how rules get enforced. The league's credibility crumbles when their stated values only apply to certain players. Their commitment to fighting discrimination becomes meaningless when they ignore clear violations from protected individuals. The incident exposed that fair treatment isn't actually a priority when it conflicts with other agendas.
Let's see an investigation into reverse racism that's going on across the league also.
The WNBA needs mandatory biological verification for all players. You can't have fair competition when some athletes possess fundamental advantages that others cannot match through training or skill. Create separate leagues if necessary. Establish clear testing protocols. Require documentation that fans can trust. The integrity of women's sports depends on transparency, not politics. Female athletes deserve protection from unfair competition. They train their entire lives for opportunities that should be based on merit within similar biological parameters. When leagues prioritize narratives over fairness, they betray the very women they claim to support. Will you keep supporting a league that ignores obvious competitive advantages to protect certain players while female athletes lose opportunities they rightfully earned? If you demand transparency, then comment "Protect Caitlin Clark" down below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.